Meitei Kuki refugees in Kudapta deport. Kuki refugees in Kudapta deport.
The Meitei blame game and dirty politics. Mislabeling Kukis as refugees, narco-terrorists and landless people to justify territorial claims and the historical context of Kuki land's ownership. 1. Introduction. In the complex socio-political landscape of northeast India, the interplay between ethnic identity and territorial claims has intensified, leading to fierce contentions between the Meitei and Kuki communities. This rivalry is often exacerbated by a narrative constructed to delegitimize the Kukis, presenting them as refugees, narco-terrorists, and landless individuals. Such labels serve a dual purpose. They not only marginalize the Kukis within the public discourse, but also provide a veneer of justification for aggressive expansionist claims over Kukiland. Delving into the historical context reveals deep-rooted issues regarding land ownership, exacerbated by colonial legacies and post-colonial governance failures. Understanding this background is crucial, as it lays the foundation for examining the implications of these mislabelings, which perpetuate a cycle of mistrust and conflict. Ultimately, unraveling this intricate web of narratives is essential for fostering dialogue and reconciliation between these divided communities. A. Overview of the socio-political landscape in Manipur and the historical context of the Meitei and Kuki communities. In the heart of northeast India, Manipur stands as a complex tapestry woven with the histories and identities of its diverse communities, particularly the Meitei and Kuki populations. Historically, the Meitei community, predominantly residing in the Imphal Valley, has enjoyed significant political and cultural prominence, tracing its lineage to ancient kingdoms that thrived in the region. In contrast, the Kuki people, primarily inhabiting the surrounding hill districts, have faced socio-political marginalization, often being identified in the context of state security and ethnic conflicts. This historical backdrop is crucial in understanding the contemporary socio-political landscape, where land ownership and identity have become deeply contentious issues. The escalation of tensions has often led to strategic narratives that misidentify and vilify the Kuki community, labeling them as refugees or narco-terrorists to bolster Meitei claims to territory and resources, thus distorting the nuanced realities of these intertwined histories and identities. Samir Kumar Das. The mislabeling of Kukis. The persistent mislabeling of the Kuki people as refugees and narco-terrorists has significant implications for their socio-political status in the region. Such categorizations are not mere oversights. They are strategic narratives employed by various factions to undermine the Kukis' legitimate claims to land and resources. By framing Kukis as outsiders in their own territory, these narratives aim to erode their historical connection to the land, a tactic that manipulates public perception and legitimizes aggressive territorial claims. Furthermore, the label of landless people perpetuates a harmful stereotype, suggesting a lack of agency and historical rights that Kukis possess, thereby marginalizing their culture and heritage. This rhetoric has permeated political discourse, reinforcing discriminatory practices that ultimately seek to isolate and delegitimize an integral part of the region's demographic landscape. Such mislabeling not only distorts historical truths, but also sets a dangerous precedent for future intercommunal relations, threatening the socio-political fabric of the society. Namrata Goswami. A. Examination of the narratives portraying Kukis as refugees and the implications for their identity and rights. The narratives surrounding the Kukis as refugees carry significant implications for their collective identity and rights. Often depicted as outsiders or victims in need of assistance, these portrayals inadvertently strip the Kukis of their agency and historical claims to the land they occupy. Instead of being recognized as indigenous people with a long-standing heritage, they are relegated to the status of mere beneficiaries of humanitarian aid, which undermines their legitimate claims to self-determination and cultural recognition. This mislabeling aligns with political agendas aimed at delegitimizing their presence and contributions to the region, thus fostering social divisions and justifying territorial encroachments by other groups. Additionally, these narratives serve to exacerbate the historical injustices faced by the Kukis, who have long been marginalized in broader socio-political discussions, reinforcing a cycle of vulnerability and resentment that threatens their cultural survival and rights as rightful inhabitants of their homeland. Samir Kumar Das.
아직 농당 tumna thado ram se chilalo chala dam se bo ya ma se hoi ge mole perform juga loina pen in ti wed ta po khai na ya le 농당 un nei dam chu.
The political manipulation of identity. In the intricate landscape of identity politics, the manipulation of ethnic identities serves as a potent tool for political agendas, often distorting historical narratives and fueling inter-community tensions. The case of the Kukis reveals how the Meitei community has strategically labeled them as refugees, narco-terrorists, and landless people, thus diminishing their historical claims and socio-political legitimacy. By framing the Kukis unjustly, these stereotypes not only marginalize a significant portion of the population, but also create an artificial narrative designed to justify territorial claims over the Kuki lands. This narrative shifts the focus from the genuine historical ownership and rights of the Kukis to a constructed identity that serves the interests of the Meitei, allowing them to gain political leverage and support by presenting themselves as the rightful inhabitants. Ultimately, the ramifications of this identity manipulation extend beyond local dynamics, echoing in broader national conversations about ethnicity, identity, and the politics of belonging. Namrata Goswami. A. Analysis of how the labeling of Kukis as narco-terrorists serves political agendas and affects inter-community relations. The characterization of Kukis as narco-terrorists not only sidelines their complex socio-political realities, but also serves as a tool for advancing conservative political agendas. By labeling this group in such a manner, certain factions benefit from sensationalist narratives that dehumanize the Kukis while simultaneously reinforcing their own power and legitimacy within the prevailing political discourse. This strategic mislabeling enables the portrayal of the Kukis as threats, which aligns with broader security concerns that are often leveraged to justify increased military presence or repressive policies in affected regions. Furthermore, this tactical framing exacerbates tensions between communities, leading to a polarization that perpetuates conflict and hinders dialogue. As these politically motivated narratives take root, they offer a convenient justification for land claims and territorial disputes, cementing divisions rather than fostering understanding and cooperation among groups traditionally viewed as unified by their struggles for rights and recognition. Samir Kumar Das. Fourth conclusion. In the complex interplay of historical narratives and territorial claims in Manipur, understanding the implications of mislabeling groups like the Kukis is paramount. The pervasive depiction of Kukis as refugees or narco-terrorists serves not only to stigmatize a community, but also to obscure the multifaceted reality of their existence and historical presence in the region. Such labels contribute to the Meitei narrative, which seeks to delegitimize the Kuki claim to land and resources, fueling tensions and perpetuating cycles of conflict. To foster an inclusive environment that recognizes the rights and histories of all groups, it is crucial to critically examine the underlying motives behind these mischaracterizations, which have far-reaching consequences for social cohesion and political stability. Ultimately, addressing these issues requires a commitment to dialogue, empathy, and a nuanced understanding of the historical context surrounding Kukiland's ownership. Charlotte Lance. A. Reflection on the consequences of the blame game and the importance of historical context in understanding territorial claims and community dynamics. The interplay of historical context and community dynamics is crucial in addressing the blame game that fuels territorial disputes, particularly in the case of the Meitei and Kuki communities. Mislabeling individuals as refugees or narco-terrorists not only vilifies entire populations, but also obscures the complex historical narratives that underpin territorial claims. This reductionist view often distracts from more nuanced discussions about land ownership, rights, and the legacy of colonialism, which have significantly shaped contemporary relationships. Consequently, such narratives can exacerbate tensions, fostering an environment ripe for conflict rather than dialogue. Therefore, recognizing the multifaceted nature of these claims, rooted in both historical grievances and modern political agendas, becomes imperative in fostering understanding and reconciliation. Ultimately, transcending the blame game is essential for building a peaceful coexistence that honors the past while paving the way for a more equitable future for all communities involved. References: Samir Kumar Das, Conflict and Peace in India's Northeast, 2007. Namrata Goswami, India's Approach to Asia, 2016. Samir Kumar Das, Conflict and Peace in India's Northeast, 2007. Namrata Goswami, India's Approach to Asia, 2016. Samir Kumar Das, Conflict and Peace in India's Northeast, 2007. Charlotte Lance, I Have a Dog, Allen and Unwin, May 1st, 2014.